everyone, this is Tamara from shelfaddiction.com, and welcome to episode 47. We're here live today recapping and reviewing the 5th episode of The Walking Dead Season 7. If you're listening live, leave us a comment on Spreaker. We want to hear your thoughts on last night's episode. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like and share it. Show us your support by rating the podcast and leaving a positive review in iTunes. The podcast can be found on the Spreaker app, iTunes, Google Play Music, the Stitcher app, and more. Joining me is PCS co-host, fellow TV junkie, and indie author Lisa Orban. Also check out PCS recaps on Lisa's YouTube channel, The Talking Book. If you want to comment on something you've heard during today's episode, you can find me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. You can also find Lisa on Twitter at Lisa Orban Author. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Tamara. Are you as psyched as I am about this last episode?
Oh my gosh, it was very good.
I loved it.
Yes. I think my favorite thing was Jesus during this episode.
Oh, I love Jesus.
Yes. Yes, he's the business. It's so funny though. It's like he's got this swagger, but yet he keeps things light, but yet he seems to have this way of kind of, I don't know, like he has this feeling about people and things, and I like him. He's a cool dude.
Oh yeah. He's one of my favorite characters. I liked him from the first time they met him. Mm-hmm. And when he came on, I'm like, I don't think he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And all I could think of last night when I'm watching this episode is like, man, I bet they're really sorry they lost that truck in that pond. Even now.
Yeah,
that would help everybody out.
Yeah, he does. So, I enjoyed the trip to Hilltop. It gave us a lot of things to chew over, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I think next episode is going to be back to the kingdom as well. Mm-hmm. So there's really rotating in this big circle. And I like that. I did want to mention one thing. There had been like a YouTube and stuff was all a Twitter about this, that they thought that there was a theory that Daryl was actually blinking in Morse code. And but I'm going to say that by this week's reaction, that is not actually what was going on, because everyone was saying, oh, no, it's Morse code. And they're saying it's like, I'm 6 miles east of Hilltop, I think is what they said the message was. And they had made a big deal of it because Michonne walked past a big sign in their house that had American Morse code in it that wasn't there last season. But yeah, so I was really hoping that that when Rick first left from the commercials, it was going to be him going to go looking for Daryl, but apparently not.
No.
Although Jesus and Carl are on the job.
Yes, they are. And I'm like, Carl, oh my gosh, like, you little idiot. Thank goodness he got into that truck, because I think he would have been trying to bite off more than he could chew.
I think he's still bitten off more than he can chew. He doesn't have a plan. I mean, he does not have a plan beyond going and killing Negan. Yeah. And he obvious, from what he has said, has no plans to escape once he kills Negan. He just wants to get close enough to him to do it.
Yeah. And
that's it. There's no other end game. So...
Well, that's his youth talking, because, I mean, if you think about the polar opposite of that, the person who has the most right to be really mad is Maggie. And she's not like, let's go hard trying to murder the man. I think she's trying to think, it's...
Well, she's planning.
Yeah.
She's planning not only for her survival, but for everyone's survival. And I think Carl's looking at it as, if I can get rid of Negan, it doesn't matter what happens to me, because Negan can never, ever do that to anyone else again.
Yeah.
And never be put in the position that he had been put in, possibly having his hand chopped off and all that stuff. He took everything very personally.
Oh my gosh, he did. And I mean, just to have him like kind of make that choice, and then in the same episode we really see like the teenage side of him. Mm-hmm. In that same episode. So it's like, oh, you're still a kid,
Yeah, that first kiss. I mean, that was something,
It was. I was waiting for that. I'm like, oh, come on, you like her, when is this gonna happen already?
Oh yeah, Well, and then we, for the beginning of the episode, we thought that the entire reason that he was out there in that car was to save her. And then we find out, oh no, it wasn't.
No. He's like two for one. I'll help you out and get where I need to go.
Right. But I really did. I did enjoy watching Maggie run over everything with the tractor. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was. It was. And actually, it was kind of cool, like, when she tells the story about how she, rolled over her ex-boyfriend's car.
Yeah. It's a Camaro.
Or high school boyfriend. I'm like, wow, she was rowdy like that in high school? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It was a Camaro. So, yeah, she was, I mean, now that she knows the baby is okay, she's bouncing back. I mean, she's still grieving, she's still hurt, but she has a reason to go on. And unlike Rick, who seems to have pretty thoroughly resigned himself to this fate, Maggie's thinking, what can we do? And she now knows what the numbers are and what this looks like and the whole thing. So, there's things are going to be a-changing.
Well, you know what? They've really aligned her character to kind of fall in line with the comic books. With that comment that Jesus said at the end, when he's talking about, well, when he got here, he thought, old boy was the answer and people liked him, but he sees someone else. And when she's like, well, who? He's like, oh, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
He means you,
and we all
Chica,
know it's you. Because, I mean, Maggie's the one that was up there on top of the trailer thing, and she's like, you go do this, and you go close those gates, and you go do this, and me, I'm gonna go get the tractor. I mean, there was no hesitation. I mean, she's probably moving slower because she is recovering, she is injured, the condition she has is fairly serious. Interesting side note, this condition that she does have, if they had known what it was back there at Alexandria, they never would have had to left, because all she needs is rest. That's the cure for it, honestly.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, all she had to do was just stay off her feet and rest. So that whole thing was literally for nothing.
Oh, well, I mean, there's an end game, so I guess it worked out anyway, I guess.
Now, and I saw this on the Talking Dead. Someone made the comment, and it was one of the fans made the comment that it's interesting that the doctor at Hilltop has the same name as the doctor with the Saviors.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So they might be related, because I believe the guy there at the Savior's place, he's an older guy.
Yeah.
So it could be father and son, or it could be nothing at all.
Right.
But, I do know that they really are trying to put little Easter eggs in there for us to kind of ferret out. So that might be one of them.
Yeah. I also think, like, with the whole, Sasha and, Maggie thing, I feel like they're almost a mirror image of, when Rick was in charge and, he had, Daryl kind of backing him up. I feel like that is what's happening with Maggie and Sasha. Like, Maggie is the leader and Sasha is the enforcer. Or the, so I'm like, okay, I kind of see this happening for them.
Yeah, she's going to be Maggie's right hand. Yeah. The person that she's going to depend on and who's going to help enforce her word. And I think, in a lot of ways, I think Maggie will be a better leader than Rick has been throughout. Because it's not that Rick has been a terrible leader, but he oscillates so much between one extreme and the other.
Right.
And, we have to help everyone. We can't help anyone. We are absolutely in charge. There's nothing we can do. And he can never find that middle ground.
Right.
And now, his other lieutenants would drag him somewhere to middle ground. But the fact remains, Rick does not reside anywhere in middle ground on his own.
Right.
It's either one extreme or another. So, because even everything that went on with Negan's group, a lot of that came from, Rick being overconfident, and again, being in the we are in charge and we are the strongest and we will prevail. We've conquered everything up to this point, so we can take care of Negan's group. And what the rational thing, the reasonable thing would have been is to find out exactly how many of these people there really were to begin with.
Right, exactly.
Because they had been starting to run into little groups of them all over the place, which should have indicated there were a lot of them. And they did not do that.
No,
so
they didn't. He's slipping a little bit, but I don't know. You're right. He's not the best leader. And on the other hand, Maggie, though, she's kind of been learning. Like, if you remember when what's the lady's name who was in charge of, what is that, where they lived? I can't even think of it right now. But the lady who died, after turning into a zombie, the old lady, she had enlisted Maggie to kind of learn with her when they first got there. So I feel like Maggie has some other skills. She's been watching, learning this whole time in the background. So
and her father. I mean, her father has given her a lot of really good grounding, for how to be a leader, how to be, the person people naturally look to. And he was grooming her, for a lot of this before he died, and then moving forward, everything that was going on with her and Glenn. And when she was in that little group, she was crazy, but she was in charge. We're doing this and we're going here and you don't have to follow me. But they did. They followed her.
Right.
And then, you can see that, when it came to making some plans and to expand Alexandria and to start the farming, that was her. So she has been all along providing this outside of let's go shoot people up advice.
Right.
And, and so I think in the end she will actually be a much better leader than Rick.
She will. I think so. But, like in the small, I guess, time of like, I don't know, Hilltop, I guess it's called. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Hilltop.
They did such a good job making Gregory the villain that they will follow her without a second thought, because he is like the worst. I mean, they showed how he fails again and again and again, It's just like, I can't believe it. He's just a horrific leader. There's no way.
I know. And, he's like, put them in the hall closet, fully knowing that's what he was going to do. He was going to give them up from the very beginning. It wasn't even, I think he did that so he wouldn't have any grief from Jesus.
Yep.
And by the time that it came around, it'd be a done deal and Jesus couldn't say anything. Not until they were gone. And by that time, it's too late.
I mean, that shows what his cowardice. I mean, he's a coward. Like, really? Like, that's what you want to do?
I mean, there is a time where you go, okay, I realize that I am not in a position of strength. And you negotiate from that. But what he is different. He's not looking at it as, what are my long-term goals? His only long-term goal is to continue living the way he is as best he can without interference.
Right.
And, and there's no fight in him. And I realize that's exactly what Negan wants.
Yeah, that is what he wants. It's easy. He can just come in and get half his stuff and carry on.
And I did think it was pretty brilliant of Jesus to put those cases of booze in the closet. So it didn't look suspicious.
Yeah, like, what is in there? Nothing. Okay.
Yeah, if nothing was in there, that would be suspicious. But because there was something in there, something of value in there, it's like, oh, okay. And of course, at that point, he couldn't go, oh, wait, no, you're supposed to find these women in here. And damn.
And actually, that was pretty smart as well. He goes, afterward, when he confronts him, he's like, you didn't say which closet. You just said closet.
A closet. What if they come in my bedroom? Well, they didn't. Ta-da!
Yeah.
And he is a classic coward. Yeah. He's not biding his time. He's not even actually doing it for his people. I could respect him if he was doing it for his people, but he's not.
No, he's doing it for himself. And that's he can do it for himself, but just not be in charge of a group of people. Go act like that on your own.
Yeah, well, but if he was on his own, he'd really have to scramble. He's got it pretty easy right now. You know,
yes. Yeah,
he doesn't do anything. He sits in his mansion, and he lives off the labors of the people inside the place, telling them, I'm in charge, so you have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Negan's group comes along, hands over half of their labors, and he's still really not out anything. Because he didn't do anything. I have never seen this man do anything.
Yeah.
You know, not pick a peach, not plan anything, nothing. Just nothing.
Yeah.
So, now, and I do think, because next week, like I said, I think we're going on to the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And
we might see some Daryl, too, with the Saviors, maybe.
Yeah. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe at that point in time there at the Kingdom, they might find out about Maggie. Because I do know that there is some back and forth between those two groups. Mm-hmm. Not a lot, but they are aware of each other. Mm-hmm. So it would be interesting if, because let's face it, Carol is a very strong woman.
Yes, you know, she is.
And Maggie is a very strong woman. And I think if Carol, I don't know. I don't think Carol is going to stay where she's at in this place. I think she just, like I said, she's taking her vacation. She's got a little house and she's taking a vacation. Mm-hmm. But I think when she finds out what has happened to Alexandria, when she finds out what's happened to Glenn and to Maggie and everybody and how things went down, I think she'll come out of retirement. And
she might.
And I don't even think she'll go back to Alexandria. I think she'll go to Hilltop where Maggie is.
Oh, yeah. She's done with Rick's group. I mean, she's done with that. I mean, especially if Hilltop is a viable place and Maggie stays there and she's the leader of it, she has someplace else that she can go. And, you know, her and Maggie are tight, especially now that she's preggers. You know, she's going to want to be around. So, yeah, she's done with Rick.
Yeah, I mean, and Carol and Rick have had a very tumultuous relationship from the very beginning. And Carol has been practical throughout all of this. And Rick has oscillated between optimism and depression. Yeah. And she has maintained that very practical stance. You know, she doesn't try to draw attention to herself. You know, she tries to blend in. She tries to look extremely harmless in all situations. Yeah. And
she does a good job of it, though. I mean, for a minute, I'm like, is that really how she's acting? What happened to her? I'm like, oh, she does a good job.
I have no idea what's going on in the most wonderful way. It's still my favorite line. You know, So yeah, she's an interesting character, and of all of them, I think she has actually fundamentally changed the most. Considering she started off on the show as, you know, she was in a domestic. Her husband was, you know, an abuser, and she was very timid, and that's what she does fall back on when she's trying to hide herself from people. Is that same very timid, non-threatening persona she had with her husband, and she projects that out, and she's excellent at it. But you know, her. You know, with everything that's happened to her, with the loss of her daughter and everything else, she has become a very hardened person who can make those hard decisions. And I think what it more comes down to right now is she doesn't want to make those choices anymore.
Right.
Because, you know, let's face it, you know, I mean, she shot a little girl in the head, you know.
She did. But, you know, it had to be done. It had to be done.
And
that's what I love about her.
But, you know, the thing of it is that's not a choice I think Rick would have made. And I think if he knew about it, he would have condemned her. Just like she made the choice to kill the people in quarantine because it was spreading and they did not know what the cure was. They did find one. Mm-hmm. But the fact is she was just trying to save everyone in the most expedient way possible. And that was, you know, to kill the two that were spreading the disease. And again, her and Rick, you know, that Rick threw out of the group for that. And so she has made all these choices along the way, and every time she's made one, Rick has come in and gone, wrong, you know?
Yeah, but you know what? Someone has to fill that slot, because like you said, because Rick teeters so drastically between, depression and optimism. Like, someone needs to be the baseline. So if it's not going to be Carol, someone's got to fill that. I mean, obviously Michonne isn't bold enough to tell him what needs to be done. So
I think she is taking a wait and see stance. I think she thinks Rick is wrong, but she can also see his point of view, and she knows that if they choose wrong, what will happen.
Right.
And so it is making her more cautious than she has been in the past.
And also, I think it's because there's no one left. I mean, there's no one else. Their group is really splintered now. Like, it's been, I guess, kind of splintered this way before, but it seems like drastic. Like, they're really not together in any way. And it's like...
Right. Well, and in a lot of ways, though, unlike before where they would get together, like they were trying to get back together in Terminus. And let's face it, they lost, over half of their group just getting to Terminus. I mean, we had the main ones. We had Maggie and we had Glenn and we had Rick and, Carol and so on and so forth. But the fact is that extraneous group, that huge group that they had there at the prison, they had 200 people, I think. And they're all gone. They were down
whittled
to a group
down real
of
fast.
they got whittled down to a group of 10, 15, and then, and then they were meeting up with each other and finding each other. And then, of course, more tragedy was striking and we lost more people. And this time, there's that core of Rick's group is almost completely gone now. It's just him, Michonne, Carl, and that's it from the original group.
From the group, yeah. So
everyone else has been added since.
And now Carl is gone. He might not see Carl again. Who knows? He might not see him again.
Yeah. So I mean, this group is very much, it will never be again. It can't be. I mean there is, Maggie obviously, and there is still Carol, but that's really about it. As far as the rest of the original group goes, there, and eventually they might get Daryl back, but none of them are going to come back to be at being the same people they were, because all of them have been through so much.
Oh, yeah. And, after Maggie gets her role, there's no way she's going to follow Rick again. There's no way. And, maybe even Daryl, after he gets back, with them, he's going to want to live a different kind of way, probably.
Yeah. And that's just, and it's kind of sad because, when they first entered Alexandria, they all slept in that same house. And and they were there. They were clumped together, and you could not move them from one another.
Right.
They were there. They were solid. And now they're not. Someone, they got their dolly smashed, and they are scattered into 100 different pieces now. So I don't think I don't think any of them will ever have that same kind of bond like they had with each other in that group when they first arrived in Alexandria.
Oh yeah, that's gone. For sure. But I guess looking forward to next week, I feel like, there was a time, you remember after they left the prison and then they all kind of got split up, and then Carol went with, they ended up in that hospital fiasco, and then we had a lot of time where we were having multiple, episodes back and forth with different people. I think that's going to go on for the rest of this season. We won't have a cohesive episode again. And that makes me fearful, only because sometimes during that section when things were happening in that arc, I felt like sometimes certain groups were boring to me. So I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to be bored with Hilltop. I want some action there as well. I don't want to be bored with Alexandria. I need something to keep me interested on those off weeks when we're not seeing Negan or we're not seeing the Kingdom. That's what they're going to have to work, toward to keep things fresh as we filter back and forth all through these different groups.
Now, I do think as we approach the end of the season, that we'll start seeing more joining up, Hilltop and the Kingdom, or maybe the Kingdom and Alexandria, or we're going to see some more interaction, because I know that these three groups are going to start interacting much more than they have been. And so as we do these, basically crossovers from village to village, we're going to see a lot more dynamics going on. And I'm going to be kind of interested to see how Rick reacts to Maggie the next time they meet, because Maggie's got, she doesn't have a plan, but she has an idea right now, and she is going to work and concentrate on it. And by the time they meet next, that idea might actually be a plan.
It might be, because it might be 2 weeks before we see her again, or maybe not.
Yeah. And, so, I mean, with everything going on, and I don't know, I was really hoping that Rick would come out of it, but the more I have watched and stuff, the more I realize he's not. He is broken at this point, and I don't think there is any pulling him back at this point.
Oh, no.
And, I mean, even if they were to get Daryl back, and Maggie were to come back, and the baby was fine, I don't think any of that would be enough for him right now, because if he got him back, then there's new fears for him. There's more people for him to lose now. There's more to lose, instead of, we're together and we're stronger.
Right.
And I don't think he's looking at that, together we're stronger kind of thing anymore. Now it's the more there is to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there will probably be a clash between Rick and Maggie, and probably even Carol. So, and I don't know whose side Michonne would even choose at that point.
Well, I mean, I feel like she would choose Rick. She wouldn't like it, but she would choose it. I don't
know.
I mean, the way she, for example, she really behaved, and I mean, I hate to, classify people, in this way, but she really behaved almost like a wife. Like, in the beginning, when he goes to kiss her on the cheek, bye, and then she gives him a kiss that she knew he needed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She kind of just, she didn't want to kiss him, really. I'm sure she's pissed off, but she did, so.
And I think part of that, though, is she's really trying to restore some sense of self to him. Maybe not confidence, but, if she can give him what he needs right now, maybe she can help him get back to where he was, no longer defeated, no longer resigned, but, ready to try and figure this out. Not today. This is going to have to be a long-term plan, because let's face it, Negan is everywhere. But with time and adding enough people and having the different groups come together, it is entirely reasonable that they could overtake Negan's group.
Right.
It will take time and effort, and it's not something that they're going to be able to even just fix going in guns a-blazing. That's not going to be that kind of a plan. This is going to be, long term, continuing to poison them, with pigs, like the Hilltop, or like the Kingdom is, or something. Anything they can do to try and break morale, make people that are sick without it coming back on them, so to speak. And, because the only reason that Negan can keep those people together is because he has convinced them he can keep them safe.
Yeah.
And the minute that he can't, if something comes in there and he can't, it's going to be a whole different scenario.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see, kind of flash forwarding, 2 episodes maybe, to when the mid-season is. I feel like there's going to be something substantial that, they leave us with something shocking, since they'll be gone for 2 months almost. So I would love to see, what they come up with, and if it's going to be like a mini Negan confrontation, or if it's going to be a confrontation between, our people that know each other, but they're just not getting along. It's going to be something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're going to, because they love to leave us hanging. They want us to be drooling, waiting for the next season to start,
Oh, I know. And they've got to do it big. They came in with this season with a bang. They've got to go, they can't leave
out
us
with a bang.
Right. And especially since we have so long to wait until the second half of this, season. It's got to be big. So whatever it is,
Here we go. Yeah, that's all there is. So, yeah. But wrapping it up, I really did. I enjoyed this, and I'm really enjoying watching Maggie. I like to see where her character is starting to really... She's going to become a very big deal here very soon.
I think so. I agree with you. She's one to watch, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And let's hope
right.
Carl doesn't get himself killed next episode.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I could totally see that being the mid-season thing. Will Carl die or not? I could see that completely.
And I think that they're setting it up for, because he's going to be dumb. He's going to be dumb. So.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right. So I guess that's it for today. You think we're done?
I think we're done.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Thank you for both of us for listening today. This is the end of our live episode, and we will see you next week. But before you go, please hit that follow button on Spreaker, the only place where you can listen live, or subscribe and listen later on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, and the Spreaker app. Thanks for listening. Until next time, happy viewing. Bye, guys.